We've taken that idea and we've created devices that you can insert into the network that make it EMP hardened. The first commercial cellular equipment ever to be able to survive and operate through an EMP, and it's been tested.
And you will have cell service.
You'll have cell service and you'll have a data center. What if we take this and apply it to our telecom problem? We've got this highly insecure, open, vulnerable technology. Why don't we take that and apply it to there? And so some of the things we were looking at there is like, how can we encrypt the data without inducing any latency on the network? So super fast network, no latency. Can we encrypt the data, decrypt the data? So basically begin to secure it. That's where it started when I was still in uniform. And then I just said, okay, here's an opportunity for me to go out in the private sector and do something that's in line with my oath of office, but that is related to something I really like, which is technology. And so we took that as a starting point and then began to build and think about how do we take from a clean sheet of paper, how do we make resilient and secure infrastructure in the country? And quite frankly, the people that invested in the company, over $30 million invested to date to develop the technology, didn't know what I was talking about when I said this. They mostly invested on the basis of they trusted me and they understood the problem, at least of the way I articulated. Don't know how it's going to work, but we set about to basically solve that problem, and that's what we've done. In a little over 5 years, we've taken that idea and we've created devices that you can insert into the network that make it EMP hardened. The first commercial cellular equipment ever to be able to survive and operate through an EMP, and it's been tested by federal agencies and passed. The first commercial equipment that can detect if you try to open it up, cut a hole in it, right? Most of this stuff is, as you know, military equipment. Mm-hmm. This is commercial gear that the thing will know if you try to open it up, however you try to do that. That deploys autonomously. So the other thing that I realized is if we're gonna make this available to military people, I don't have time. You don't have time to set up comm gear. That often was the most frustrating thing for me is I've got 3 or 4 different comm systems I got to put together and get running. And so one of the things that we found out about cellular equipment is very complicated to set up. I can give you a radio and baseband unit and the core and hand it to you, and you could spend the rest of your natural born life and never get that thing to connect to a device because it is that complicated in terms of the settings and everything else. And so there's an entire business in just building these networks for the carriers that the OEMs charge them for engineers after engineers after engineers. And you're like, why is this so complicated? Well, that's their business model, right? It's very complicated. Okay, so how do we take that, and this is really the hardest thing that we had to do, how do we take this very complicated system and make it so you can plug it in and it just works? What does that sound like to you? It sounds like a Wi-Fi router that you buy on Amazon, right? You cannot take cellular equipment today and plug it in like a Wi-Fi router. That doesn't work. And you have it connect to and operate your device. Can't do that. So that's what we did. That was the hardest thing to do, and we finally finished that last year. So now we're starting to take it commercial, and within a few weeks, it'll be available for anybody to buy. And if you're sitting out somewhere and you don't have a cellular signal someplace, it's affordable enough that you can likely maybe get together with some of your neighbors and put something up that gives you cellular service. So now the reason that we don't have cellular service in rural communities or underserved urban communities is because the population density isn't such that the cost justifies investment in a very big tower, which costs millions of dollars. And so making that affordable, making it easy to deploy, making it resilient, making it secure. We did this for the military, and we did it in partnership with the military, specifically the Air Force. But now it's available, and it's going to kind of transform the way we grow the network and the way we grow capability. So
this started with the military project, then it went to the carriers, and now it's going to be available to consumers.
It's going to be available to It's not, our business model is not yet where I can just sell service. That's not what we do. We're an infrastructure company. So we mostly help other companies provide this capability, but we are gonna allow people to purchase it, directly. So, that's our model, and we think that's the way to go because, quite frankly, people need agency. And this, if you're sitting around, you don't have cellular service. And oh, by the way, it comes with a data center, right? Because you have to run all that software. So by design, you need a data center. And so now you can start to create your own mini Silicon Valley right in your own backyard is kind of like what we're going to enable.
What is the cost of that going to be?
Well, let's just say it's less than $5,000 a month to deploy one of these things somewhere.
And you will have cell service.
You'll have cell service and you'll have a data center.
And does that mean you control all the data?
It means that you can control all your data. Yeah, you'll be able to control your infrastructure.
When is this going to be available?
We're actually revamping our website right now, so I think probably 4 to 6 weeks.
Where do people find this? What's the website?
Semper.ai.
Semper.ai.
Yeah, Semper is actually an acronym. It stands for Secure EMP Resistant Edge. So it's not a word, it's an acronym. But Semper.ai is our website.
Very, very interesting. Wow. That's, that could change everything. How long's that been in the making?
Over 5 years. It is hard to EMP harden a commercial cellular network. It's hard to create a data center that can detect if somebody drills a hole in it, and there's a lot of things that we've had to develop in order to be able to detect that. It's hard to get servers to operate at the extreme temperature ranges that cellular equipment is designed to operate, right? They're typically in air-conditioned buildings. It's hard to then create the software that allows this thing to be completely automated, and so that you don't need to know anything about cellular equipment. You can just plug it in and connect. So these are all the technologies that we had to build in. And in many ways, it's almost like the airplane that I flew, right? A very complicated machine that has all of these subsystems operating together to make this thing. It's not just, so when typically with a startup, you're creating a technology. We created technologies, plural, to come together in a systems of systems to make this work. It's kind of like what Steve Jobs did with the iPhone, but we did it on the infrastructure side. So consequently, what we found out in testing our nodes, and we call them nodes because I haven't figured out a way to describe them other than that, that you could go to Best Buy and get a smartphone, and that would be perfectly fine, survive, and operate right through an EMP.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.